Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with the Spain News Update. And with the summer tourist season now officially underway, Spain's unemployment rate has dropped to its lowest level in 14 years. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. Now, let's get into the news, and it's all about jobs here in Spain at the moment, with the unemployment rate falling to its lowest level since 2008. As we can read here, unemployment falls below 2.9 million in June for the first time since 2008, thanks to the summer season. June closed with 2.9 million unemployed people, the lowest figure since October 2008, at the beginning of the financial crisis, according to data published today by the Ministry of Labour and Social Economy. In addition, the social security system gained an average of 115,607 contributors in June, its best figure for this month after those of 2005 and 2021, years conditioned by the process of regularisation of immigrants and the lifting of the state of alarm against COVID, respectively, and signed a new record by exceeding 20.3 million employees. Figures that show a good start to the summer. So it seems that there are plenty of jobs currently being created here in Spain, with unemployment, as we saw, at its lowest level since 2008. Now, as we know, Spain is currently suffering from record inflation, and this means that a lot of Spaniards are having to change their holiday plans. As we can see here, 43% of Spaniards change plans or cancel holidays due to price rises. The unstoppable rise in prices, which now affects practically all goods and services and is measured in double-digit percentages, is imposing rigour on the lives of Spaniards. Fewer and fewer people are not seeing their standard of living appreciably affected by the uncontrolled rise in inflation. The so-called poor people's tax is spreading its tentacles and breaking down social boundaries to the point that this summer, the first normal one since the pandemic, practically half of the population has been forced to change their holiday plans. The inflationary virus is snaking its way through and contaminating all sectors. From fuel to food, accommodation, services, transport and leisure, the consumer price index of more than 10% is already pushing up budgets set aside for the summer period and forcing citizens to review their accounts and rethink their activities. So there we go, 43% of Spaniards, according to a recent poll, having to rethink their holiday plans or cancel their vacations. So it'll be off to the pueblo for a lot of people, I imagine, this summer here in Spain. Now, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez the other day announced that he's going to put an end to job insecurity for health workers here in Spain, and the government is going to make more than 67,000 health workers permanent to put an end to precariousness. The president of the government, Pedro Sánchez, has announced that next Tuesday the Council of Ministers will approve the stabilisation of 67,300 health professionals throughout the administration, which he sees as a very important step to put an end to the job insecurity that the health system has been suffering for decades. According to an interview published this Sunday in El País, this is the greatest stabilisation of health professionals in the history of the national health system since its creation, for which it is going to stabilise 67,300 health professionals at all levels and throughout the whole of the administration. So the government deciding that it's time to get serious when it comes to public health workers here in Spain, and it's about time. Now, tourism numbers for the month of May have been published, and Spain received 7 million tourists in that month, 5 times more than a year earlier. 7 million international tourists visited Spain in May, more than 5 times the figure for the same month last year, when 1.4 million foreign tourists arrived in the country, according to data published on Monday by the National Statistics Institute, the INE. Total spending by international tourists visiting Spain in May reached €8 billion, an increase of 474.8% compared to the same month of 2021. With this new upturn in May, the arrival of international tourists and their spending in Spain has accumulated 12 consecutive months of year-on-year increases. So Spain's still the country of choice for a lot of foreign tourists, with 7 million international visitors visiting the country in May. Now, we've seen over the last couple of weeks how strikes have affected a lot of flights coming to and from Spain, especially among low-cost operators Ryanair and EasyJet, and unfortunately these strikes look set to continue, because Ryanair cabin crew in Spain announced 12 new days of strikes in July. Spain-based cabin crew at Ryanair plan to strike for 12 days this month to demand better working conditions, the USO and SICTPLA unions said on Saturday, raising the prospect of travel chaos as the summer tourist season gets underway. The announcement came on the final day of the crew's current strike, which began on Thursday and forced Ryanair to cancel 10 flights in Spain on Saturday. Cabin crew will strike on July 12 to 15, 18 to 21 and 25 to 28 across the 10 Spanish airports where Ryanair operates, the union said in a statement. So no doubt July going to be another complicated month for people travelling to and from Spain with low-cost operator Ryanair. So if that's your case, be prepared for cancellations and delays. Now, we all know that Spanish airports have been complicated places this year. Long queues at passport control, many people have missed their flights, and recent strikes have added to the chaos. But chaos at the airports pales in comparison if you compare it with what people have to put up with to cross the border to get into Morocco. Because as we can see here, there are queues of up to 7 hours to cross from Ceuta to Morocco in Operation Crossing the Straits of Gibraltar. The increase in passengers and vehicles in recent days has kept the border between Ceuta and Morocco on the verge of collapse, where the average wait to cross the Tarajal crossing is around 7 hours. The vehicle holding area next to the border is at 80% capacity, and the influx is expected to increase. The reopening of the border between the two countries after 2 years of closure due to the coronavirus pandemic is causing a massive arrival of Moroccan citizens to the autonomous city from the port of Algeciras. Many travellers opt for this route instead of embarking directly to Morocco, as fares are 50% lower. So there we go, having to queue for a couple of hours at an airport here in Spain, absolutely nothing compared with what Moroccans have to do to cross that border down there in Ceuta. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from The Tool: you were conned at the beginning of 2020. You wanted lockdowns. This is the result. Enjoy! Yeah, The Tool, thanks for the comment, and the first thing I'm going to say is that I don't think anybody wanted a lockdown, or at least I don't know anybody that wanted a lockdown. Nobody was out there saying, please lock us down, but we understood the magnitude of the pandemic, and lots of people unfortunately lost their lives. I understand that there are people out there, like yourself, that still don't think that the pandemic was serious, because obviously you listened to certain politicians at the time that thought it was a big joke, right? And not only did people like yourself behave like absolute idiots during the pandemic, you're now gloating about the current financial crisis. So do me a favor and go back into the cave that you recently came out of, and whatever you do, don't because you're not, you are the tool. One here from Mick: hi Stu, never played paddle before we moved to Spain. The wife and I now play 2 or 3 times a week at different levels and really enjoy it. We both left our tennising days behind us 40 years ago, but taken to this sport with relative ease. Cheers, Mick and Moreira. P.S. NATO is a must, in my opinion. Yeah, Mick, thanks for the comment, and thanks for telling us your experience with the sport paddle, which I said the other day is a very popular sport here in Spain. I mentioned the other day that I had never seen it before I came to Spain, and that I was surprised by just how popular it is here. In fact, a lot of the new apartment complexes here in Spain come with a paddle court. My son recently played his first game of paddle and he absolutely loved it, so I might have to give it a try. I'll let you know how I get on. One here from B: the only way to eradicate the blight of graffiti, paint vandalism, is to hold the landowner responsible for keeping their property clean and sightly, under penalty of fine. Apprehending the vandals, let alone prosecuting them, is clearly impossible, and it is utterly cockeyed and debauched for the owners of the fouled walls, fences, carriages, etc. to shrug and say, not my problem. Yeah, B, thanks for the comment, and an interesting couple of ways there to deal with the problem that is graffiti in this country, a serious problem in my opinion, and you see graffiti everywhere you go here. In fact, in this part of Spain, there's not a public infrastructure, for example a bridge or a wall, that is not covered in graffiti. Now I imagine that the local governments here, whether they be local, state or national, have given up on trying to clean it up. However, when it comes to graffiti on private property, like the factories that we saw the other day that had their walls covered in graffiti, maybe it is up to the landowner or the owner of that building to clean the graffiti. Because you're right, it's almost impossible to catch the people that do it. One here from Simon: impressive video, thanks. One question for Tres Cantos and Alcobendas: is it safe for women and children expats to live there? Thanks. Yes, Simon, thanks for the comment, and the simple answer to your question is yes. Those two areas that you mentioned there, Alcobendas and Tres Cantos, both in the north of Madrid, are safe areas for women and children. Generally speaking, that is. And although I'm neither a woman nor a child, and I can't really speak for those collectives, from what I've seen and from people that I've spoken to, Madrid in general seems to be a fairly safe city. But again, if you have a differing opinion, please leave it in the comment section below. One here from Loomcast: a few years back, most people in Spain used to be thin and fit. Ever since the junk food restaurants arrived in the country, the young and not so young have gotten plump and have developed the same health problems we suffer in the US, which is over 60% obese people. And a similar comment here from The Storm Is Letting Up: I hope Spain stops importing American eating habits. Yeah guys, thanks for the comments, and obviously in regard to something that we saw in last Friday's video, when I went to the local shopping area here where I live, and I showed you the abundance of fast food restaurants, burger joints, taco outlets, fried chicken restaurants. There is an endless supply of fast food restaurants in this area, and growing every day. And you're right, a lot of people here seem to be piling on the kilos, probably due to a bad diet. Because for a lot of people, it's cheaper and easier to go to one of these restaurants, especially in the big cities. Fortunately, if you go to small towns here in Spain, this is not the case. Fast food restaurants haven't arrived to a lot of those places yet, and traditional restaurants still dominate the scene there. But unfortunately, as I just said, that is not the case here. So let's hope, as that last comment said, Spain stops importing US eating habits. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give us your opinion on the fast food revolution here in Spain, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. You know where I sit on the matter. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.